Hello and welcome to Odds on Serie A Matchday 30. After the international break, we are back with our favorite competitions, and we have Leo Bachanian to analyze Serie A without Thiago Motta. Leo, in the break, Juventus sacked Thiago Motta, and I'm not sure about the replacement, actually, Tudor.
Yes, until the end of the season is going to be 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲. I believe the dream for Juventus will be to have 𝐼𝐭𝐴ntonio Conte back, but it seems a bit impossible. He's contracted until 2027 with Napoli, so we will see. But the last two games for Motta, a 4-0 with Atalanta at home and a 3-0 away with Fiorentina.
Not great numbers also for 𝐬𝐭𝐴nTudor as a manager, and Serie A, of course, we left it with Inter beating Atalanta, with Napoli dropping points against Venezia. Yes. So Inter really favorite, as we've been saying the whole season here. Now top of the table, 3 points clear from Napoli, 6 from Atalanta. So let's listen to Leo's tips. Guys, of course, press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. And this Serie A match day 30 starts on Saturday. We have Como Empoli for the relegation, especially for Empoli in the bottom three, 22 points, 3 away from Parma, and they keep going with their bad record. Lost to Torino and to Roma 2-0. It's only 3 points in the last 14 Serie A games. Como took the lead against Milan, put the things very difficult to the Rossoneri. But they lost. It's only 1 point in the last 3 games. But of course, they are doing a great season. 7 points away from Empoli. Leo, is crucial also for Como. If they win, they are going to be almost safe.
Yes, but my emphasis is in Como, because you said, Edu, it's a very good season for them. With Empoli at the beginning or between August and November, I would say, we were even a bit surprised with them as well, because we were getting good results. But since then, it's been downhill, absolutely. And for Como, it's the most important game all season, I would say, Edu, because you mentioned 7 points above Empoli, who marks the relegation zone, and a win will guarantee almost a place in Serie A next season for Como. And to be able to achieve something like that, survival almost with 8 games to spare, will be a great achievement for Como. They have won against Napoli, against Atalanta, they have competed with Juventus, but this is the game for them. They won't have Cesc Fabregas in the bench on Saturday, as he was given a one-match ban after he was dismissed in San Siro. It was another game this season in that defeat, Edu, against a top team, in which Como lost the game after scoring first. The captain, Lucas Acuna, and he's done it with Roma, the Olimpico, opened the scoreline. He even scored a second one at the beginning of the second half, but that one was disallowed by the VAR, and maybe it could have been different if, or it could have maybe changed the dynamic of the game if it wasn't disallowed. But then after that, Milan grew into the game, and in 20 minutes they won it from behind. Matches after the international break are always difficult because of all the traveling. In that scenario, 𝐻𝐿𝐴 probably will arrive to Milano a bit upset for not playing minutes with Argentina, which actually Fabregas traveled. That's what was reported in Spain. Traveled this international break to Madrid to meet with Carlo Ancelotti and to discuss 𝐻𝐿𝐴's future, which tells you not only the confidence in the Argentina that Fabregas has, but also the confidence he has that his team is going to stay in Serie A for another season. At home is 2 wins and 2 defeats in the last 5 for Como, but those defeats were against Atalanta and Juventus. When you look at Como at home against relegation contenders, you see, yes, a draw with Venezia on Matchday 29. They also drew with Parma and Monza, but they won against Lecce and Verona. And this is the game, again, I'm saying, for Como. Empoli winless since the 8th of December, 11 defeats and 3 draws since then. My take here, Edu, Como to win, good odds 1.75.
Next game, Venezia, Bologna. Venezia still getting points from the big guns in Serie A. They drew with Napoli 4 consecutive draws, but only 3 wins this season. That's why it's very hard for them to stay in Serie A, and it's going to be very hard to beat or to get points from Bologna, one of the most informed teams in Serie A. Smashed Lazio 5-0, 4 consecutive wins in Serie A, and now Leo in Champions League spots.
Yes.
Again, great job by Italiano.
Absolutely, and the stock for Bologna keeps rising, Edu. They are manufacturing an absolutely amazing campaign. If they manage to qualify for a second consecutive season to the Champions League, that will be brilliant. That 5-0 against Lazio, no one saw that coming. 5 different goal scorers, 5 wins in the last 6 matches. It looks very odd to see that defeat with Parma in the middle of this very good run in the last 2 months for Bologna, which also included the Coppa Italia semi-final. And after Motta, it seemed almost like a mission impossible for Vincenzo Italiano, as he described it. But look, they are there, 4th in the table. I had the feeling that this very good run of 5 wins in the last 6, in a way, was empowered a little bit with that win against Borussia Dortmund at home in the Champions League. They were already eliminated, but the fans celebrated like if Bologna have won the Champions League. And maybe with a little bit of hindsight, unless I'm reading too much, it seems that win kind of like ignited the team to make them believe that the top 4 was a concrete possibility. I thought that Bologna was more likely to finish in a European League position. Okay, nothing is settled yet because Juventus, Lazio, Roma and Fiorentina are still going to compete for that 4th spot. But still, amazing from Bologna. The only thing, they are like a bit short from in terms of like their squad. But the same we could be say about Lazio and Fiorentina, for instance. Should they feel overconfidence against Venezia because they are in a relegation spot? Well, not at all. Venezia has shown repeatedly this season that they are made to play against top 8 opposition. They always compete. The last 2 home games were against Lazio and Napoli, and both ended 0-0. They are in a good moment with those 4 consecutive draws, and 3 of them were 0-0, 3 of them 0-0. But of course, as you said, they haven't won in 12 matches. We know the script. Venezia is going to sit down in a 3-5-2, and Bologna will have the possession, but I don't think they're going to have a huge amount of chances in front of goal. My take here, Venezia first half double chance, Venezia, odds of 1.57.
Well, it's very open, the fight for the 4th spot.
Yeah.
That's for sure, with many teams involved, even perhaps Roma or Fiorentina or Milan. Let's see. Well, Juve Genoa is the next game. Very, very interesting because it's Tudor's debut. As we mentioned, Thiago Motta was sacked. Bad results, 𝐿𝐭𝐴 in Coppa Italia, in the Champions League against minor teams outside the Champions League spots. For some people was surprising, Leo, because also they built a project with Thiago Motta, with some youngsters, selling some players, and we thought he was going to be given some more years of credit, but this is football. He's out, and now they have also an uncomfortable team to host. Genoa doing a great season, basically safe in the mid-table. They beat Lecce. It's only 1 defeat in the last 6 games, and we have a big manager perhaps in the future like Patrick Vieira doing again a great season in Serie A with Genoa.
Yes, and to be honest, Edu, yes, I understand if some people were surprised with Motta departing or getting fired. Okay, of course, he signed a 3 years contract and he was fired after 9 months and a little few more days. But in this show, I think we wouldn't be surprised. We talk about this one coming for a long time. Relationship with fans and players as well was broken. I mean, no one will say it publicly, but they just need to see who left a farewell message to Motta in terms of the players. Well, I would say no one. Just 𝗵𝗵𝗀, who is 20 years old, Belgian striker, left something on social media for him. And then after that, we didn't hear anything from his now former players. 52 points after 29 games is the lowest for the 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐵 Bonetti in the last 14 seasons, and that tells a lot why he was fired. Apart from the Coppa Italia, at home with Empoli, eliminated with PSV in Champions League, PSV that a week after lost 7-1 at home with Arsenal. So it was a little bit of a respite for a while with those 5 consecutive wins, but the last 2 games in charge, as we said at the beginning, was 4-0 at home, the worst defeat in 57 years for Juventus, and that period of defeat with Fiorentina. After 𝗀𝗵𝗀 scored the third one 3-4 minutes into the second half, we all knew that was game over for Motta. I guess everyone is waiting this managerial bounce, but Genoa under Vieira has been one of the surprises of the season. They went back to winning ways against Lecce after 3 games without winning. They also had the great news of Ruslan Malinovsky returning to the starting lineup after 6 months after recovering from a broken fibula, and he actually assisted Miretti in both of his goals. Fabio Miretti is actually on loan from Juventus, and he's having a very good season. Under Vieira, Genoa made themselves difficult to beat in San Siro, difficult to beat at home with Napoli, and we might probably see the same now in Turin. That's why my take here is Genoa Asian handicap +1, odds of 1.85.
So if they draw or win, you get your money. If they lose by 1 goal margin, you get your money back. And the last game we have on Saturday is Lecce Roma. Roma, one of these teams that perhaps can target Champions League spots, 4 points away from Bologna. Now their only target is that one, qualifying for Europe outside the Europa League, knocked out by Athletic, but they beat Cagliari after that defeat. So it's 8 wins and 2 draws in the last 10 Serie A games. No Dybala for the rest of the season, and this is very important for Ranieri's men. And we will know what is Roma doing until the end of the season, because after Lecce, Leo, they have Juve and Lazio, so direct rivals for the European spots.
Absolutely, and that's why this game is even more crucial when you look at those 2 games that come in after this one. And Roma, in silence, they made themselves Champions League contenders, I believe, or maybe not that much in silence, but they are now 4 points behind Bologna, undefeated since that defeat in the lake with Como, and that was the 15th of December, winning 10 matches since then, the last 6 consecutively. Of course, a huge blow for them, the elimination in the Europa League against Athletic Bilbao, a tie that blew up with that red card from 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐿 in the first half when the game was still 0-0. The worst mistake of my career. That's why what Matt Hummels said after the game. He was not a starter against Cagliari the Sunday after in the 1-0, probably because Ranieri wanted to protect him. 𝗀𝗵𝐿𝐴 score with Cagliari, and he's in double digits now, 10 goals for him this season. The real blow is Paulo Dybala out for the rest of the season. He decided to undergo surgery. Matías Ūlē will have to step up now, I believe. He's having a good second semester of the season, scoring, but now this one is a proper test for the Argentinian. For Roma, is 3 of the last 4 away wins have all been 1-0. This is a good opportunity then for Roma to keep adding pressure in that 4th spot. Ranieri keeps repeating that he's leaving at the end of the season, but now some of his players like Angelino are calling for him to stay. And if Roma makes it to the top 4, I think Ranieri might rethink once again in his career his decision to retire. And Lecce, somehow, every time we talk, they manage to stay off the red zone. 3 points above Empoli, but 4 consecutive defeats for them, although all of them by 1 goal margin. At home is 5 defeats in the last 7 for them, and the last win was in December against Monza at home. For Roma, we're going to see 5 clean sheets in the last 6 matches in Serie A, and Lecce is actually the team that have scored the least so far this season. That's why my take here is Roma clean sheet, odds of 2.3.
Games on Sunday, Cagliari, Monza. Cagliari lost to Roma, as we said, 4 points above relegation, only 2 points in the last 5 games. So it's key to beat almost a relegated team like Monza if Cagliari want to stay in Serie A, Leo.
Yes, and that is the bad news probably. That just one win in the last 8, but the good news is that despite that, they are 4 points above the relegation zone for Cagliari. So now is Monza and then is Empoli. So basically these days could decide the season for the Sardinian. With Roma, it was a laborious performance, especially during that first half when Roma didn't have a single shot on target, and Cagliari did well and playing, of course, at the counter and having 1 or 2 chances in front of 𝗵𝗵𝗀. In Sardinia, Cagliari won 2 of the last 5 matches. Those wins against relegation contenders like Parma and Lecce, so that should raise the hope against Monza, who drew at home with Parma before the international break. But we always know that they are already done with Serie A this season, lost 7 of the last 9, and on the road they lost the last 7 consecutively. Monza might take here Cagliari to win, combined with goals under 3.5, all this together, odds of 2.18.
And let's talk about the Scudetto, the title race. We have 3 great games on Sunday, starting with Fiorentina. Atalanta, also Fiorentina, one of these teams that we have to take in consideration about the European fight, because they beat Juventus 3-0, so they are 3 points away from the European spots. Also alive in the conference. Remember, they are also, they were last season in the final and they are still alive. And Atalanta, the Scudetto title hopes, the fight, Leo, is almost over after losing to Inter 2-0. It's always the home form for Atalanta. There is where they are losing the Scudetto.
Yes, it's surprisingly, although of course the last one was against Inter, but yes, I believe that was the end for them in terms of like dreaming with the Scudetto, with Gasperini, that defeat with Inter before the international break. Probably the first thing that comes into our mind with the Fiorentina Atalanta is both teams to score. In the last show before this one, we spoke of Fiorentina's fixture until the end of the season probably being arranged by the enemy, but so far the first test was passed with an A+ against Juventus with that 3-0 win. It was very needed as well for Fiorentina to win, because prior to that 3-0 they were in a poor run of 4 defeats in the last 5 league matches. They scored in quick succession in the first 20 minutes, and that settled the game for Fiorentina. When Gudmundsson scored the third one, that was of course game over for them. 𝗲𝗏𝗀 was really pushing to score as well one against his former club. There was even time for La Viola fans to tease a little bit Dusan 𝗵𝗏𝗀, a former Fiorentina striker. There were many high points in Palladino's team. Luca Ranieri and Robin Gosens, the fullbacks, were magnificent. And with Atalanta, a team that uses the flanks a lot, that should entertain themselves. Ranieri and Gosens. Fagioli was superb, who is actually on loan from Juventus, and probably he wanted to prove a point. Then Mandragora, or Mandrake as they call him, and Gudmundsson were the creative engine of Fiorentina. And with Atalanta, we should see many of the things that La Viola show on Matchday 29, because the back three, I believe, set the tones against Atalanta. Fiorentina against Juventus was marking 1v1 all over the pitch, with the back line almost at the halfway line, and it's exactly what we know about Gasperini and Atalanta. That's what they do. They go 1v1 all over the pitch, and whoever wins the most duels is going to win this match. But Atalanta needs to change the image that we saw against them with Inter, almost like accepting the inevitability of losing the 3 points against Inter. It was the third loss to the Nerazzurro without scoring this season. Gasperini won't be on the bench. He also saw a red card, I'm saying also because Emerson was as well shown a red card with 10 minutes to go, the Brazilian. Retegui is in doubt because he pulled out of Italy's squad with an injury. I said that I expect goals in here. Might take goals over 2.5, odds of 1.95.
Yes, not a great international break for Lazzurra, indeed. Next game, the title favorite, of course, Inter Milan, playing at home against Udinese. They have a half a Scudetto in their hands after the win in Bergamo. It's 3 wins and 1 draw since the defeat with Juventus, of course, still alive in the Champions League, so perhaps the Champions League can drag them forces, but they have Parma and Cagliari next, so should be easy. But be careful with Udinese, Leo. Is one of these teams that they are in form. 1 draw and 3 wins in their previous games, but it's true that they lost to Verona before the break.
Yes, and I think because also there's not much at play for Udinese, and in those scenarios it's difficult to keep the focus, no, and the concentration until the end of the season, despite them having a very good run before that Verona defeat, which was surprising because especially it came at home. And Inter made a big leap forward to win this Serie A with the win in Bergamo and with Napoli dropping points in Venezia. It was the first win against the top 3 for Inter this season. It also helped Inter to end a run of 4 league games without winning away from San Siro. The bad news for Simone Inzaghi is that Bastoni was shown a red card, then that Lilian Thuram was dropping from squad with an injury. Moreover, you have Dumfries as well sustaining a muscle injury in Bergamo. He will remain on the sidelines until the mid of April. Lautaro Martinez was also released by Argentina, and so far it does not look like he will play against Udinese. But of course, anyways, Inzaghi has solutions. Instead of Dumfries, he could play Matteo Darmian, although there is a huge difference between them, I believe. Bastoni out will mean that Carlos Augusto dropping as a left center back, and then Di Marco playing as a wing back, and then 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐻𝐿 has regained full fitness. The same goes for 𝐿𝐭𝐭𝐼, who probably could replace his compatriot Lautaro Martinez up front. And this Udinese is arriving at San Siro, as I said, after that surprising defeat at home with Verona, which stopped that run of 6 matches undefeated for them. In the international break, we saw Lorenzo Luca with Lazio against Germany. 6 of the last 7 between Inter and Udinese were goals over 2.5. The odds on Inter, anyway, this time are, of course, a bit low, 1.42, almost on the safe bet range for Inter to win. But I'm going to combine Inter to win plus Inter to score first. These two together, odds of 1.93, Edu.
And the other title contender playing at home, Napoli against Milan. It's only 1 win in the last 7 Serie A games for Napoli, still alive, only 3 points away from Inter. But as we've been saying here, it's going to be very long for them, the season, especially without 𝗵𝐵𝐿𝐻𝐿, especially seeing how 𝗵𝐵𝐿𝐻𝐿 is doing with PSG. We understand that they are missing him. They drop points against with Venezia, and in front they have this Milan, Leo, that is so difficult to trust, to predict. They were able to come back against Como and against Lecce in the last 2 games.
Yes, a little bit of personality at least showing there from Milan. You were, Edu, I believe, the one who saw that coming, Venezia getting in the way of Napoli. Raspadori hit the woodwork after 5 minutes into the game, and I think that set the tone of the match, because Napoli had 15 shots on goal, but they were frustrated by an excellent performance from Eduardo. They have drawn 5 of the last 7 league games. Napoli is 8 points collected from the last 21, which is for Conte the worst record over 7 games since 2009-2010. Billy Gilmour, the Scottish, back in the starting lineup for Conte. This player who arrived with McTominay last summer, but McTominay made himself undroppable for Conte, and Gilmour had to be much more patient to get game time for long periods when Conte was using the 4-3-3. The midfield was Lobotka, Sambanguisa and McTominay. No place there for Gilmour. But now with this change to to free at the back, the 3-5-2. Well, now the Scottish is getting a little bit more confident from Conte, and he did very well against Venezia, and again, despite the 0-0. And this is a must-win for Napoli, and they could start the game already 6 points behind Inter. Next weekend they will play Bologna, but after that there is a run of more convenient fixtures for them, because they're going to have Empoli, Monza, Lecce, Genoa and Parma. But at the Diego Armando Maradona, the run has not been so bad as I said before, with those 5 draws in the last 7, because at home they won 4 and drew 2 of the last 6, and some of those wins were against Juventus and Fiorentina, and some of those draws were against Inter, for example. For Milan, then, Edu, probably the best to happen in the last few months, and I don't know if you have seen it, it was Andrea Pirlo's goal on Sunday when Milan legends played against Tottenham legends. He still got it. He scored a beautiful free kick, and I think 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐽 will die to have someone like him in midfield. With 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐽, at least, as you said, they show personality to win again from behind at home, which was the case as well with Parma a few weeks ago, and also with Lecce. If there is something probably in favor of 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐽, is that Milan played 9 games in the last 30 days, which means that there was no time at all almost to train, only recovery sessions and video analysis. But the same goes for any other top team in Europe, I would say. I won't go 𝑋1 or 𝑋2 here, Edu. My take for this Napoli, Bologna, both teams to score, yes, good odds, 1.81.
Well, last 5 games for Milan were both teams to score, and indeed, what a screamer scored by Andrea Pirlo, still looking good.
Oh, beautiful.
Age, and he's a classy man, what can we say? And for Monday, we have 2 games, Leo. Verona, Parma is the first one, very important one for the relegation battle. Parma 3 points above relegation means a big chance, drawing with Monza to get even more distance with Empoli. The opposite for Verona, key win over Udinese. The rule of Verona of not drawing games, Leo, only 2 draws this season, is paying off.
Absolutely, that's there are no grades for Verona, and the win against Udinese away was huge, and I will keep repeating that. It's 18 defeats this season, but they are 7 points above Empoli, and like 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐽, they have the chance this match day to almost 35. The survival this weekend, that or a description of having no grace throughout the season is also something we can see in the last 7 games, 4 defeats and 3 wins for them. I think the problem probably with Verona going into this game with Parma is that they have been in much better shape playing on the road than at home this season. When you look at the results at home against the relegation battling teams, you see a 3-0 defeat with Monza, 4-1 defeat with Empoli. Yes, they have a 2-1 win against Venezia as the best result against the bottom teams of the table. But Parma is arriving with the inconsistency that marked their season. They can win clearly against Bologna at home, like happened a month ago, but also completely hide, like in the defeat with Lecce or the draws with Venezia and with Monza before the international break. 3 points above Empoli, but I think the 1-1 with Monza was a little bit damaging for 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐽. My feeling with Parma is that if they stay in Serie A, which I believe that will happen because others like Empoli, Venezia, Lecce will be doing worse than them. My take here in a 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐽 game, first half draw, odds of 2.15.
Only Empoli and Monza have done worse playing at home than Verona at the 𝗵𝗵𝗀. And the last game is Lazio Torino. Lazio dropping spots in the table. Now they are 6th after getting smashed by Fiorentina. We've been mentioned also this season that their squad is not that long, and of course they are also alive in Europe, and they have a great chance to qualify for the semifinals because they are facing Bodo glimpse and Torino is a dangerous team at the moment. Leo, 10 points out of the last 12.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's not going to be an easy game for Lazio. Heavy defeats which are symptomatic this season, Edu. That 6-0 at home with Inter and now the 5-0 away with Bologna. Days after they qualify for the quarterfinal of the Europa League. We mentioned many times that Lazio competing for the fourth spot this season was them probably punching above their weight this season. But anyway, I never thought of the difference we saw with Bologna. Incredibly, that the game was just 1-0 at halftime, but then 2 goals in the first 3 minutes of the second half. They thrown away the towel, and that was something very similar to happen with Inter, no? Conceding in quick succession after the break, and the game is gone for Lazio. It's just 1 win for them in the last 5. That win against Milan in San Siro on added time with Pedro scoring from the penalty spot. The sporting director saying that Marco Baroni's position is not up for discussion, and as we always say as well, when they come up in public to defend you, is because behind doors they are thinking something probably different. In 2 weeks they have the derby with Roma, and it's going to be crucial for Lazio the way they arrive to that clash. And Torino, yes, of course, enjoying a very good moment in a good season for them. 3 wins in the last 4. With Empoli, they had to dig deep to win 1-0 before the international break, thanks to 𝐜𝐵Ce. On the road, just 1 defeat in the last 7 for them, and they have in 𝗵𝗵𝗫 contender for the goalkeeper of the season. No wonder why Conte wants him at Napoli. Lazio favorite for the bookies, but my take in this Lazio Torino Asian handicap +1, odds of 1.67.
Well, we are excited to see the Serie A back this weekend. We have great games, and it's so interesting. Matchday 30th already in Italy. So, guys,
Yep.
Of course, as always, you can post your tips as well in Oddspedia and be able to win some cash prizes. Very soon we start also April, so you can participate in our monthly tipster competitions or in rivals and create your own customized competition, for instance, about Serie A with your friends. Leo, your safe bet?
Yes, Fiorentina, Atalanta, goals over 1.5, odds of 1.29.
And the ACCA?
ACCA is Venezia, first half double chance, Inter to win, Napoli, Milan, both teams to score yes, these 3 together, odds of 4.
Leo Bachanian, thank you very much. See you next week. Bye.